is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air and at VSiN Live. And we got some drama unfolding in the NBA. A brawl, essentially, going on in Minnesota right now between the Pistons and the Timberwolves, as there was a hard foul on a layup. Naz Reid apparently took exception, and players got involved. There was some choking, some pushing, some shoving. Cameraman got knocked down to the ground, and everyone's just trying to pull players off. A lot to digest here. Several ejections on both sides as the officials are trying to sort this out right now in Minnesota, and obviously going to the replay monitors to figure out exactly who came off the bench and who's going to get ejected. I've seen coaches being escorted to the locker room right now, more players being escorted to the locker room as ejections galore, and you better believe the NBA is going to come down with some fines as well for this game. The Minnesota Timberwolves closed as a 7.5-point favorite. Here's where we are right now with all the confusion going on in the second quarter. There is still a lot of time left in the second quarter. 8 minutes and 36 seconds left to go. And the Pistons lead the Timberwolves 39-25. Minnesota live is a minus 1.5-point favorite. But we got to figure out who's playing in this game first before we even decide if there's an opportunity for a live bet. I need to see who has been ejected from this game, as now there's technical free throws shot on both sides. Let's see if we can track down the ejections in Minnesota between the Timberwolves and the Pistons to find out exactly what is going on here. We have 5 players and 3 coaches that have been ejected. J.B. Bickerstaff was ejected for Detroit. That is interesting. So Detroit is going to be playing this game without their head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff. Who else am I seeing got ejected? Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo. I'm seeing now 6 player ejections with also J.B. Bickerstaff. All right, here we go. I got the full list here. J.B. Bickerstaff, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, Marcus Sasser for the Pistons, Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and assistant coach Pablo Prigioni ejected for the Timberwolves. That's a lot to sort out. And looking at the box score, just want to see the contributions from these players right now. As we have Sasser has only 3 points off the bench, Stewart 0 points off the bench. Holland, 4 points off the bench. But this is now a shortened bench for the Pistons, already playing this game without Cade Cunningham. And for the Timberwolves, Naz Reid, 2 points off the bench in 10 minutes. DiVincenzo, 6 points in 10 minutes. So certainly a reduced bench for Minnesota as well. I got to imagine Minnesota is a play to get back in this game at home. A live bet down 39-32. Luka Garza, who is in the game now, he's certainly going to get some minutes. But it's still, Randall. You have Gobert. There's Garza getting some props, so he'll be in the game now as I'm watching on TV. You still got Conley, still got Edwards, who only has 1 point, by the way, on 0 of 3 shooting. Meanwhile, a reduced bench for an already short-handed Pistons team without their head coach for the rest of the game. I think this is a recipe for a live bet right now. Here's what you have. 8 minutes to go in the first half. 39-32, Pistons leading the Timberwolves. Timberwolves minus 3.5 for the game. Minus 180 on the money line. I like Pistons minus 3.5. Let's go ahead and lock this in. Although line's moving right now. Yep, 3.5 still. It's minus 120 on the minus 3.5. Let's go ahead and lock this in. Now, the best time to do a live bet would be during a commercial break. So we might have to wait for a stoppage because every time we try and place the bet, it's not going to get pending. It's going to be pending and not going to go through as I believe that was Ant-Man someone just made a shot. So it's 39-34, the Pistons over the Timberwolves. Eagerly waiting is what we're doing right now. We are eagerly waiting a stoppage in play so that we can fire in a live bet on the Timberwolves here. But I think this is a recipe for a live bet. They were big favorites at home, 7.5-point home favorites that were down to, down double digits here in this game. Big fight ensues, and the opposing team has their head coach ejected and several of their bench players. If we're just going the starters versus the starters, the Timberwolves have the edge here. No Cunningham, as I mentioned, for the Pistons. And now, like I said, with a shorthanded bench, it's got to be Minnesota or nothing for me. I think Minnesota, again, we're going to wait for a stoppage as the Pistons have scored again. It's now 42-34. Minnesota is now -1.5. As soon as this play stops, we'll be able to fire in a live bet, so we might even get some better odds here on this on the game as to where we are once it stops. And again, good lesson, live betting. Wait for the commercial breaks. Everything moves too quickly. The sports books are always ahead of your score apps or whatever it is. The sportsbook apps are always ahead, but you got to wait for stoppages in play, for commercial breaks, to have that time to place your live wager. Let's take a look at how our other live wager is doing. The Knicks currently have a 92-87 lead over the Blazers with 6 minutes left in the game. Knicks live line is -7.5. They were -7 points for the game. So our Knicks money line bet at the half is looking okay, up by 5 points right now with just under 6 minutes to go in regulation. So hopefully the Knicks can come home for us, and all of you that tailed when we placed that bet at halftime with the Knicks trailing by 8. Knicks are now up 94-87, 5:45 left to go in regulation. Elsewhere, the Warriors dominating the Spurs 68-44. Hawks with a 75-70 lead over the Bucks. That is an extremely high-scoring game because they're only in the second quarter right now. The Hornets a 52-43 lead over the Pelicans. We're going to focus on this Pistons game against the Timberwolves to see if there are any live betting opportunities once we get to a commercial break. And first quarter coming to a close, it looks like. Raptors a 30-26 lead over the 76ers. Still no stoppages in play here. Pistons have a 43-34 lead over the Timberwolves. We are waiting for a commercial to place a live bet on Minnesota. Live line right now is still Minnesota -1.5. Live total 220.5 if you were intrigued by that. But let's wait for a commercial break to place the official wager here. Meanwhile, we are getting underway in Anaheim on the ice between the Ducks and the Maple Leafs. Toronto was a pretty sizable favorite in this one at -170 or so. I do like Toronto in this game. Playing on the back-to-back doesn't really affect them as much because they played against LA last night. So usually it would be a complete fade spot for me, backing teams on the second night of a road trip, away, with travel baked in. But the travel situation, they're staying in the same hotel, right? Or maybe they're not staying in the same hotel, but they just took a quick bus ride. Like literally, there's no flights. It's not anything they had to do. They could be staying in the same hotel. I don't know what the travel accommodations are, but you play LA downtown, then you have to drive about an hour or so, 2 hours down to Anaheim. No real sweat here for these teams. I'm sure they stay somewhere in between for their games. So I'm not worried about the travel spot for the Maple Leafs, who are favored against the Ducks. And I really liked what Toronto showed in the third period there against a Kings team that does not lose games when they are leading after 2 periods, and does not, frankly, lose games at home. And with their elite goaltender, Darcy Kemper, does not blow leads at home. Kemper has been one of the most incredible goaltenders, not just this season. His numbers are historical when it comes to his performance on home ice. So it was really surprising to see the Maple Leafs be able to score a couple of goals against him in the third period last night. But I like where Toronto's at. They are in good form. If you're looking at the standings right now in the NHL, Toronto is currently tied with Florida for the 2-3 in the Atlantic Division. But they are Toronto is 1 point ahead of Tampa and Florida for the first place in the Atlantic Division. Florida and Tampa are tied at 91 points. Toronto's got 92 points. So Toronto needs the wins to keep them in first place in the division, and by winning your division, you then play a wild card team in the first round of the playoffs. So if you're the 2 or the 3, the 2 and 3 play each other. So that would mean right now Tampa against Florida. That is a very difficult first-round matchup, although not a lot of travel, but a very difficult first-round matchup. If you're Toronto, you want to avoid that. And instead, you'd much rather face a wild card team, whether it be, which right now, it would be the Ottawa Senators as the wild card team that you would face. I much rather like that for Toronto. Again, better travel situation, better matchup. So I do like the motivation angle for the Maple Leafs, but that game just getting underway. Still no commercial breaks in this game, but the Pistons have extended their lead. It is a 48-36 lead for the Pistons over the Timberwolves. Live line right now at 5 minutes and change to go in the first half is the Pistons minus 2.5. We might have to wait till the end of the first half to place this bet, or if we do get a commercial break in these final 5 minutes, would be something to keep an eye on. But it looks like all Pistons right now here, despite the loss of some bench players, despite the loss of their head coach, maybe they're the motivated bunch here amongst these two teams. So we'll keep an eye on this and track it as we progress throughout the next 5 minutes of game time. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Live Bet Sunday right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Right now, only one live bet for us in play. We will have some games coming up a little bit later on, but only one live bet in play for us. It was the Knicks money line at minus 120. We bet that at the half when the Knicks were trailing 58-50 to the Portland Trailblazers. Knicks closed as a 7-point favorite at Madison Square Garden. They were trailing by 8 in the first half to end the first half, and we took the Knicks minus 120 on the money line. They were minus 1.5. Instead of the minus 110, we just went ahead and just did Knicks money line at minus 120. Knicks leading right now with about a minute to go, 108-93. So that one's going to come home. And if you did lay the 4.5, which was a recommendation as we got to the end of the third quarter, Knicks minus 4.5 will come home for you. Again, 108-93. The Knicks lead the Blazers with a minute 14 left to go in the game. We have not placed a live bet yet on the Pistons and the Timberwolves because we haven't gone to a commercial break, and maybe that's a good thing because it hasn't looked good for the Timberwolves. It's still all Pistons right now with a 53-41 lead over Minnesota. At this point, I think I'm just going to hold out and wait to see what the line is once we get to halftime. But there's still plenty of time in this first half. 4 minutes to go in this first half. Again, 53-41. The Pistons lead the Timberwolves. Live line right now, Pistons minus 2.5. So maybe it's maybe this will deter us from placing a live bet on the Timberwolves, because certainly it looks like the Pistons haven't skipped a beat after that fight and after the ejection of their head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, as well as 3 members of their bench. So the depth, not an issue right now, but maybe the depth becomes an issue the later in the game that we get. So if the Timberwolves are to force a comeback, if the Timberwolves start to push the pace and start to run a little bit, perhaps having a short bench does come back to bite the Timberwolves here if they are playing with a short bench, something that we're going to keep an eye on here. Again, we have to wait until we get to half right now. There's still 3:56 to go, and waiting to see what this line is going to be like. I would prefer, if I'm being honest, like if the situation was a little bit better and the Pistons were coming off like a back-to-back, like if Detroit played last night, I'd be much more inclined to back the Timberwolves going up against a shorthanded Pistons team playing without Cade Cunningham already, and also, with a short bench. But maybe this is the surge now for Minnesota as they get basket and the foul. Julius Randle did. So it's 55-45. Randle's going to be shooting a free throw to convert the three-point play. Foul on Jalen Duren. And let's take a look at the foul situation, too. All right, nothing bad. Nothing bad for the Pistons. I was curious to see if any of these players were in foul trouble. Well, Duran's got 3 fouls. But if some of these players were in foul trouble and then you're playing without 3 members of your bench and your head coach, it could be interesting here down the stretch, but no apparent foul trouble. But 3:30 left to go in the first half, 55-46. The Pistons do lead the Timberwolves. The Knicks are closing out this win right now, and it is a final at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks win 110-93 over the Blazers. And it's amazing. How many times do we see this in the NBA with these favorites that are down at the half and not just come back to win the game, they come back to cover the original line. The Knicks were 7-point favorites in this game. They were down 8 at the half. Not only did they come back and cover the second half, win the game outright, but they cover the original line and win 110-93. Like never even a sweat. They dominate the fourth quarter, 31-15. They outscore the Trailblazers. I mean, this is happening way more often than it's not in the NBA. That at least I have noticed. We are at the half of several games. This Pistons game should have been at the half, but obviously the brawl took some time away from this game. But at the half in Milwaukee, the Hawks lead the Bucks 82-75. And for that game, it was Milwaukee closing as a 4-point favorite. Your live line at the half right now is Atlanta minus 2.5. And the total 272.5, extremely high total. But then again, you've had so many points scored in the first half. But 82-75, Atlanta leads Milwaukee, and Milwaukee, who closed as a 4.5-point favorite at home, a 4-point favorite at home, right now is a 2.5-point dog. Also at the half, the Warriors at the Spurs, Golden State winning 68-44. Right now, Warriors closed as an 11.5-point favorite. Live line, they're minus 24.5. That's it. We are getting underway. Third quarter just got underway. Pelicans and Hornets. Hornets lead the Pelicans 52-43. Charlotte, a 5.5-point favorite, as the Pelicans closed as a 2.5-point favorite in that game. And second quarter action from Philly. Toronto leads 46-35 over the Sixers as Toronto closed as a 6-point favorite. The Sixers have done just an incredible job this year, or towards the end of this year, of just making sure that they keep their first-round pick. Like, this has been, it's one of the greatest things that you could have done. Now, listen, you're laying an incredible price every single night. But once it was announced that Joel Embiid was out, and then you find out the situation with Paul George, if you just bet against the Sixers every single night, like just every single night, you're just crushing it. Because they've won. Listen, the Sixers have won, the last time they won a game was March 16th, so they've lost 7 straight games. Before that, they won against Utah. A surprising win against Golden State on March 1st. And then a win on Dallas in February. Since the calendar flipped to February, the Sixers have 4 wins. Just 4 wins since February. 4-23 straight up since February. And it's just an incredible job of tanking. It trusts the process indeed. And what do I mean by that when I say tanking? Well, if you understand what's going on in the NBA draft, the Sixers' first-round pick this year is only top 6 protected. Meaning that if they, in the draft lottery, somehow wind up with the 7th pick, they don't get that pick. Oklahoma City has that pick. And wouldn't that be something if the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best team in the NBA, winds up, getting the 7th overall pick in the NBA draft? But still, the Sixers needed to make sure that they continue to lose games so that they have the best most ping pong balls with the best lottery chances of staying in that top 6 and keeping their first-round pick. And they've done a great job. They've done a great job of tanking. Down 48-38 right now to the Raptors. We're keeping an eye on what's going on in this Pistons game against the Timberwolves because I do think there could be an interesting live betting opportunity on Minnesota, who closed as a 7.5-point favorite but has been trailing all game. In case you're just tuning in, there was a fight in this game that had several players and coaches ejected from both teams. Players of note from the Pistons ejected were bench players Ronald Holland, Isaiah Stewart, and Marcus Sasser, as well as their head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, ejected from this game. For the Timberwolves, Naz Reid was ejected, and Dante DiVincenzo, 2 bench role players, ejected for the Timberwolves. So shorthanded for both of these teams as we move here. As the first half is coming to a close, or is winding. We've got about a minute and a half left in the second quarter. And once we get to the half, we'll see if there is a live bet opportunity on the on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I wanted to bet the Timberwolves early before, but we didn't get a situation to bet them because the game just kept flowing. There wasn't a commercial break, and you really have to wait for commercials in order for you to get the best opportunity to place a live bet. So you have that time, because if the sports books are just ahead of your TV feed, you just don't have the time to place your live bet. The line's going to move. It's not, it's going to be pending, and then you might not get the line that you want. So we'll keep an eye on that once this game goes to half. Hey, VSiN fans, it's time to plan your Vegas getaway. Circa Las Vegas owner Derek Stevens is offering you 15% off at 3 incredible properties: Circa Las Vegas, the D Hotel, and the Golden Gate. So whether you're lounging by Circa's stunning rooftop pool, and by the way, Stadium Swim, like the best place to watch March Madness games, especially with the weather getting warmer and warmer here in Vegas, it's just incredible. Right now, you can save big with promo code VSiN15. So book your stay at circalasvegas.com. Use promo code VSiN15 and get 15% off. Your Vegas adventure starts here. I'm Scott Seidenberg. More Live Bet Sunday up next right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here on Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, as we have the Final Four set. All 4 number 1 seeds have advanced to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, just the second time since the tournament expanded in 1985. The only other time it happened was 2008. It's been an incredibly chalky NCAA tournament with favorites dominating 51-13 for the favorites here in the NCAA tournament. That's just straight up. The ATS numbers are great as well, but the straight up record 51-13, and the 51 ties the most straight up wins for favorites in an NCAA tournament since the field did expand in 1985. Houston beat Tennessee earlier today, 69-50. They covered. Auburn defeated Michigan State 70-64. They barely covered the 5-point line, or minus 5.5, depending on your book. But they gave Michigan State every chance to cover there at the end of the game, and Michigan State just could never take advantage of the opportunities to cover. And at the end, 4 seconds left. Michigan State, what happened was they were down 6, long full court pass by Auburn to break the press. Michigan State got a hand on it, almost got the turnover, but they knocked it out of bounds. And there was 4 seconds left, and Tom Izzo gave his team the signal, we're done, no fouls, let's not stretch this out any further. As he shook hands with Bruce Pearl, congratulated Auburn, and all 4 number 1 seeds are onto the Final Four. Couple of nuggets here as we look at this. Evan Abrams from the Action Network tweeting out, it's the first time in history that favorites went 12-0 straight up in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. If you would have parlayed all of that, 44-1 odds on all of those teams to win. Favorites have now won 14 straight games in the NCAA tournament. Unbelievable. Chalky, chalk, 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 chalk. So we have the Final Four set, and here are the lines. Florida is the favorite over Auburn. Now, these two teams played in the regular season. The game was in Auburn, and Florida won that game 91. Let's see. Final score in that one was, we'll get the final score, 90-81. And at the time, Auburn was let's see, we'll get the line exact. Auburn was a 10.5-point favorite over Florida. Auburn was the number one team in the nation at that point. Prior to that loss against Florida, Auburn had only lost one game all season. They were 21-1, with their only loss being to Duke. And so at home, they were a 10-point favorite over a Florida team that was also ranked in the top 10. And Florida, at that moment was, 19-3? But Auburn got a lot of love, and Florida goes into Neville and defeats Auburn 90-81. So now we have a reevaluation of these teams. That game was back on February 8th. So we've had 2 months now, essentially, by the time we get to this Final Four. And in this matchup, Florida is a 2.5-point favorite over Auburn, Final Four in San Antonio. In your second game, Duke against Houston, Duke is a 4.5-point favorite. I like both dogs in these games. I really do. I like coaching. I give the coaching edge to both Auburn with Bruce Pearl and Houston with Kelvin Sampson. Houston, obviously, much easier travel. Like Houston got screwed when they had to play the regional, the Sweet 16 matchup in Indianapolis against Purdue. It was a road game for Houston. And now they passed that test, so they dealt with a road crowd there in Indianapolis, and now they have, an opportunity to win a national championship, 2.5 hours away? 3 hours away? So I expect Houston to be comfortable playing there in San Antonio. I like Houston plus the points. I do. Take the 4.5 here now. I like both dogs in Auburn and Houston. We'll get more into the Final Four, recap what we've seen so far in this NCAA tournament. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by our very own Greg Hoops Peterson, as he's going to break down what he's seen so far in this NCAA tournament and what he expects to see next weekend in the Final Four. Greg, in fact, did pick all 4 number 1 seeds to make it to the Final Four. So he was spot on with the chalk here in the NCAA tournament. I got 3 of the Final Four teams. My one team that I did not have in the Final Four was Florida. I actually had St. John's making it to the Final Four against Auburn, and I had Auburn beating St. John's, Houston over Duke, Houston over Auburn in my national championship game. I have a futures bet on Houston to win the national title as well, and I still think that they are the team to pick, even though they're being a little bit disrespected here in the market. I do think they are the play here for this to win the national championship. Duke has never faced a defense like this, and Houston's going to show out. Duke is plus 105 to win the Natty. Florida plus 290. Houston plus 350 right now. And Auburn plus 500. I think a lot of value on Florida, to be honest. Because they're going to be underdogs in both games. At least that's what the mark. Auburn, Houston, that'll be interesting. Could be lined up very similar to where we are between Auburn, Florida. But we know Auburn will be a dog against Duke if that's the matchup. So Duke is your favorite to win the title right now, plus 105. Florida, plus 290. Houston, plus 350. Auburn, plus 500. I see no value in any of these bets. Maybe. See, you have to calculate the math here. Because essentially, like Duke, there's no reason. Just bet the money line, Duke against Houston. And then just bet the money line again with your winnings, Duke against whoever they play in the national championship game. No reason to bet Duke at plus 105 now. Florida, same thing. Just, you can bet the money line, Florida against Auburn at minus 142. And then you take your winnings. So you take your $70 profit and you put your entire $170 on Florida as an underdog against, Duke. So maybe they're like, let's say they're plus 170 or whatever. And you risk your 170, you're going to get back 500, a lot better than the futures market. So you're better off doing the money line rollover there as well. Auburn, on the other hand, I still think, I guess, plus 500. So let's see. If Auburn's plus 120 against Florida, and with these bets, you can obviously shop around. Use multiple books. Look to find the best odds you can get. But at DraftKings, for example, they're plus 120. So your $100 bet on Auburn money line, you're going to get back 220. Then you take your 220 and you bet Auburn as a dog against, if it's Duke, you're going to get them as, that could be the same. Let's say it's a 4.5 point line, which is what Houston is right now. And let's say it's plus 160 to plus 170. Your $220 bet's going to get you back like $600. So you're better off with all of these teams just doing a money line rollover. And it's like you have to calculate this with all futures bets because the math sometimes just maths. And that's what it is right now with these teams. But I'm on both dogs. Once again, we'll get Greg Hoops Peterson's opinion coming up a little bit later on here in the program. We are at the half of that game between Minnesota and the Detroit Pistons. And the Timberwolves have closed the gap. The Pistons lead 60-54 over the Timberwolves. And your live line is Timberwolves minus 1.5. I like it. I think maybe the lack of depth and perhaps lack of coaching could show itself as we progress throughout the third and fourth quarters. So I'm going to co-sign right now a live bet right now. We're going to go ahead and play the Minnesota Timberwolves. The money line's minus 140. I'd like it to be less, like is what the Knicks was. But I'll go minus 1.5. So we'll go Timberwolves minus 1.5 on the live bet here for our next live bet of the game. We already cashed the Knicks, so we're happy about that. So let's go ahead and let's cash here with the Timberwolves. Hey, your bracket might be done. So you might not have all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, but that doesn't mean the tournament's over, and neither are your chances to win. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today for just $9.99. Turn all of your tournament heartbreak into betting success. You'll get the best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access with the VSiN Watch app, and full VSiN.com access. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe for just $9.99. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. It's Live Bet Sunday, right here on VSiN.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg with you on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. We also have Sunday Night Baseball going on right now as we monitor all live betting situations. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning in San Diego, and the Padres are on top of the Braves 2-0 as San Diego looks to make it a 4-game sweep of Atlanta to open up the 2025 season. There's just one out here in the bottom of the 6th inning. We'll see if the Braves turn 2 here, and they do. Okay, So now we're going to the top of the 7th inning with the Braves trailing 2-0 over against the Padres. I had a pregame bet on the Braves. I like them at plus 1.5 runs on the run line. Laid a little bit of juice on that. And if you're looking at a live betting chance right now, here's what your numbers are as we head to the 7th inning. Atlanta plus a 1.5 is at plus 130. Atlanta on the money line is plus 390. Can Atlanta break through against this bullpen for the Padres? Here's what we've seen so far in this game. Nick Pivetta is pitching lights out. 6 shutout innings, only 1 hit allowed to the Atlanta Braves. That 1 hit came from, Orlando Arcia with the only hit for the Atlanta Braves. He has not walked a batter, and he has struck out 4. So literally, the 1 hit from Arcia, the one difference between a perfect game, perfect 6 innings, or not from Nick Pivetta. He has been that good. But let's take a look at his spring training numbers here, because I don't think he comes back out here for the 7th inning. Now, I'm not watching intently. Obviously, I got the sound off right now with this TV, so I haven't seen if anybody's warming up in the bullpen just yet. But if we're just looking at his spring training numbers this season, he topped off at 76 pitches in his final outing of the spring. Right now, Nick Pivetta is at 70. Where is he? Nick Pivetta is at 74 pitches. So look, he's pitching lights out. I get it. And part of me would say, hey, we keep this guy in the game because no one's been able to get a hit off of him. He's nearly perfect. But I would think that he is not long for this game. I think maybe he starts this 7th inning, and then they'll take him out once you get a base runner on or so, or he is out to start the game. They're coming back from a commercial, so I'll wait to see right now. The reason I say this is because I would honestly put a live bet in right now on the Braves plus a 1.5. You get plus 130 odds on it, so it's a nice little plus money chase. I do expect Pivetta to be out of the game relatively soon, if it's not right now, and then you'll get an opportunity for the Braves to score off of the bullpen here. Now, why were the Braves an attractive play for me before the game? Well, if you just went back to last season and you took a look, and Pivetta is still in the game, by the way. If you just go back to last season and you took a look at all the teams trying to avoid a 4-game sweep, those teams last year were 23-15. You were 23-15 if you bet on the teams that were looking to avoid a 4-game sweep. And if you took the run line in those games, 23-15. So they were 23-15 straight up, 23-15 on the run line, looking to avoid a 4-game sweep. A $100 bettor betting on every one of these situations last year made a profit of $1,050. Meanwhile, you were down $1,404 if you bet against those teams. So betting on the teams to avoid the sweep, you made a nice profit last year, a 24.8% ROI. That's amazing. Now, if those teams were underdogs in that 4th game looking to avoid the sweep, which is what the Braves are in this game, or they were going into this game, 12-12 straight up. So not great straight up numbers, although profitable because you're getting plus money when you bet these teams. So profitable. But here's the real kicker. On the plus 1.5 run line in those situations last year, 15 wins, 9 losses, 62.5% on the run line, taking the plus 1.5 for these dogs. So if it was too pricey for you before the game, obviously it's not an ideal situation because you're trailing 2-0 and it's the 7th inning. You need the Braves to score a run here, but you get plus money right now on plus a 1.5. Nick Pivetta has been great, but he's not going to pitch a complete game. I can promise you that. He's at 80 pitches right now. Bang, bang play at first base. There was no replay, but the runner was called out. So there is 1 out in the top of the 7th inning. And now it looks like there's going to be 2 outs. Line drive caught by the third baseman, Machado. So 2 outs in the top of the 7th. So it is, listen, as Yogi said, it's getting late early. But you have the 8th inning, you have the 9th inning. If it's not this 7th inning, and it will be against the bullpen for the Padres, an opportunity to maybe scratch across a run here late in the game. Padres, meanwhile, last night won 1-0 against the Braves, and it was Morajan who got the save in that. Jacob got the hold in that game, as it is a 1-2-3 inning for Pivetta. What a gem by Nick Pivetta. In the game before, Padres did use Suarez. So Suarez is likely available for this game because he did not pitch yesterday. And Suarez did pitch. Did he pitch on opening day as well? Let's check the box score. So Suarez pitched 2 days in a row. Opening day, game 2, did not pitch last night. You would imagine that Suarez is available for the Padres in this game tonight. Going to the bottom of the 7th inning, Nick Pivetta is at 82 pitches now. I mentioned he topped off at 74 during spring training. I can't imagine that he comes out and pitches the 8th. So if you didn't get a live bet in on it now, maybe worth a sprinkle here. If the Braves can hold the Padres in the bottom of the 7th inning, go to the top of the 8th, down 2-0, the plus 1.5 is going to be a plus 200 or greater. Interesting little sprinkle opportunity against the Padres. That's just, hey, that's a feel that I have right now for this game. Just looking to attack from a live betting perspective, looking to attack a bullpen and a situation that maybe we get a nice, juicy plus money price on a good situation that we are in. Our other bets that we're tracking here, we do have the Maple Leafs. They are up 1-0 against the Ducks at the end of the first period. So Max Domi with the goal there. A good first period, or a good end of the first period, because it was scoreless for a long time before Domi scored in the final minute, literally. 1924 of period 1. The Maple Leafs break through with a 1-0 lead over the Ducks. So we are on Toronto, going to track that, and I will have a best bet coming up for the late NHL game. So you're sitting here, you're wondering, what am I going to bet on later tonight? Well, we do have an NHL game that begins a little over an hour from now in LA. Sharks at the Kings. I will have a best bet, maybe a couple angles in that game for you, but we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. We did place the live bet on the Timberwolves minus 1.5 down at the half against the Detroit Pistons. So let's keep an eye on where we are at here as the third quarter is underway. Pistons leading 66-61 over Minnesota. Your live line right now is Minnesota minus 3.5. So hey, I got some CLV. If that's the way you want to look at it. Other scores in progress right now. Warriors blowing out the Spurs 115-79. The Hawks a 112-87 blowouts right now of the Milwaukee Bucks. The New Orleans Pelicans have reclaimed the lead here over the Hornets 81-79 in the fourth quarter. And the Raptors well on their way to a blowout of the Sixers 70-53. We do have a late NBA game that is starting in about 20 minutes or so from now. The Rockets are at the Suns. Houston, a minus 2.5 point favorite against Phoenix. And let's take a look at where we are now in the NBA standings, because every game is just magnified for the Phoenix Suns here down the stretch. We look at the schedule, and if you're looking at the remaining schedule for the Phoenix Suns, so they have this game tonight against Houston, and that'll be 7 games after tonight left. They have the most difficult strength of schedule remaining in the NBA. We'll tell you about their opponents and tell you where we lean for this game tonight between the Suns and the Rockets coming up next. Don't forget, you can take VSiN with you anywhere, anytime by becoming a VSiN Pro subscriber today and stay connected to the action with the VSiN Watch app, available on your phone, tablet, and smart TV. And with the VSiN Watch app, you get 24/7 live access to our audio and video streams. You can replay your favorite shows and quick access to clips by sport. Download the VSiN Watch app today I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN.